We open the book with the first key, which is all about hope and motivation, and we assess people's motivation. And you really need to start where you are and hang in there for the long term. The second key is your healthy self will heal your eating disorder self. You have to strengthen your healthy self, and that part of you will take over getting rid of the eating disorder self. So we really teach people this isn't a battle that somebody else is going to step in and take away your eating disorder. Usually someone has a healthy self inside for somebody else. So for example, if a girl with bulimia comes to me and says, I ate this ice cream and I feel like it's going to make me fat and I have to throw it up. What I will often ask her is, what would you say to your 7-year-old sister or niece if they said, I ate this ice cream and have to throw it up? And they know what to say. They would say, oh, one ice cream isn't going to make you fat. They know what to say. But they don't use it for themselves. So this whole key, this whole second chapter, which is key 2, helps them start to use their inside knowledge that's been overshadowed by the eating disorder and bring it back to heal themselves. The third key is called It's Not About the Food. And of course we know that food doesn't cause an eating disorder. There are a lot of things that contribute to an eating disorder. There's a biological predisposition, and there's the cultural piece, and there's psychological issues. So we help people to see that this isn't really about an addiction to food or don't blame the food. And we talk about all the different aspects that what we say is it makes your own particular puzzle or perfect storm that creates your eating disorder. Key 4 is called feel your feelings, but challenge your thoughts. A lot of times people who have eating disorders really have lost the ability to really feel their feelings. And what they try to do is run away from them. So the eating disorder becomes a coping mechanism for not dealing with certain feelings. Like I get angry and I binge and purge. I feel depressed and I restrict my food and try to be successful that way. All kinds of things. I was sexually abused, so I am afraid of relationships with people, and I isolate and I try to make my body as small as I can. There are all kinds of ways that over time, even if it's not what started the eating disorder behaviors sort of substitute for feelings. So we want to teach people, again, how to get in touch with their feelings, how to journal about their feelings, how to not be afraid of their feelings, and use their feelings as a signal that I need to do something, something's wrong. And it's weird because it seems in our culture even, people start thinking of feelings as something they want to get rid of, as opposed to something that will teach them that there's an action that they could take. The second part of the chapter is, but you have to challenge your thoughts. A lot of people will make very distorted, they have distorted thoughts, like, if I eat this ice cream, I'll get fat. Key 5 is probably my favorite because since key 3 is it's not about the food, key 5 is it is too about the food. That's why it's called an eating disorder. And a lot of people for a long time said eating disorder is not about the food, it's the underlying issues and self-esteem. And unfortunately, it is about the food. If you don't heal your relationship with food, you do not get over an eating disorder. Key 6 is about changing your behaviors. And most people know that you have to change the big behaviors. I mean, you can't keep throwing up your food. You can't keep starving yourself. But this key talks about all the little things that people could do that might contribute to them relapsing or continuing to have an eating disorder that aren't really overt and that other people do that it's not a problem for them. So for example, someone might continue to weigh themselves and say, well, lots of people weigh. You don't have to have an eating disorder to weigh yourself. But we say, if you continue to weigh yourself and use a number on the scale to judge yourself and compare and all that, chances are you're going to continue, or you could be sort of hanging on to these last vestiges of the eating disorder or relapse. So we have a bunch of those, like body checking and comparing clothing sizes, counting calories, things that normal people do, but that if you do these and you have an eating disorder, chances are they're going to get in your way of being fully recovered. Key number 7 is called, you have to reach out to other people rather than the eating disorder behaviors to get your needs met. So let's say someone who has bulimia gets angry and frustrated and they don't know how to cope very well and they binge and purge. Well, this lists all the reasons, excuses, why people say, I don't reach out for help. I'm embarrassed or feel guilty. I'm afraid the person won't know what to say to me. I don't know what to say. And we go through each of those. So it turns out that if a parent reads that, they kind of get prepped for what to say to their kid. All of the keys we teach at Montanita, we teach at all of my treatment programs. And really, when you think about it, if someone has an eating disorder and eventually they learn that if I feel like I'm going to go binge, if I am going out to dinner and I feel like I'm afraid to eat that food, and I called you up on the phone and said, I'm scared, will you talk to me for a few minutes? That right there can make a difference. They don't usually do that. So getting someone to reach out to another person to help them through that moment, or to just deal with all the feelings that I talked about earlier, like getting angry or getting depressed. We need people to help us through things. And over time, with an eating disorder, the person relies on their eating disorder rather than other people. That whole key is about that. The last key was the hardest one to write, because the last key should be a whole book. And the last key is about finding meaning and purpose. And the way we talk about that key is that all the first 7 keys are about what you're recovering from. Key 8 is what are you recovering to? And what's in the world out there for you? Why recover? Why is it better not to have an eating disorder? What is it about living on this planet and being in touch with life and wanting to take care of your body, which we call your earth suit for this planet, What is it about that would make you excited to get better and really hang on to getting better? You wouldn't want to mistreat your body when you tap into, I think, what's more sacred and soulful about life, about living. And I would say the major lesson in Key 8 is about learning the difference between your ego mind, the part of us that is connected to our identities, and what we do and all that, and your inner soul self, or the essence of who you are as a human that doesn't really care about what number the scale says. It's a hard concept, but it certainly was worth putting in there. We both believe in it so much. We both think it helps people heal. So we end the book with that, and with a few letters, or what we call eaters' agreements, that some of the clients who are recovered have written to themselves about those concepts and about how they now want to live their life. So it ends on a really positive note of people really writing what they have learned and how they're taking this forward out into the world.